Hi guys, welcome to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome to another Premier Division preview show. We're going to preview all 5 games this weekend, but we're going to look back at Dundalk's 2-1 win over Bohemians last night as at Oriel Park. Stanton and Houben with 2 excellent goals, I have to say, for Dundalk. Wilson, decent strike. I thought Derry could have done better, if I'm honest with you, with the goal back for Bohs. This was a really interesting game, I thought, from my point of view. I watched it and Bohs are just a very strange team for a start because they play excellent football, they play nice, stylish football, and then they can lose games even playing that way. It's bizarre. The game last night, the last 20 minutes, Bohs threw the kitchen sink at Dundalk, and actually, to be fair to Dundalk, they actually showed a bit of balls and a bit of character to see that through because, we've been here slagging Dundalk for a couple of weeks. Slagging's the wrong word, but criticising them, and rightfully so. Let's be honest, they shouldn't be where they are. But they've won 3 games in a row now, and the likes of Houben, again, excellent last night, by the way. Duffy was good as well. But they actually showed real character and win that game last night. Yeah, they played good football at times as well. Dundalk, a couple of weeks ago, I think, would have caved to the pressure Bohs put on them late in that game last night, to be fair. So you have to give them credit. The atmosphere was great. The home crowd have really got behind them the last few weeks. They've played home game after home game the last couple of weeks and won them all. Bohs brought a good crowd as well, but it's a strange one. Dundalk are obviously up to 8th now. They're above Waterford. You're starting to fancy them a bit more now. Bohs, I have to say, in my humble opinion, I think Europe through the league is pretty much gone for them. How did you see the game overall?
Yeah, look, definitely was an interesting one anyway. Have to say, I wasn't fully confident going into this one, and it's been one of those ones for a while. I've been waiting for us to kind of get, not trashed, but kind of turned over, and we kind of were in the first half anyway, definitely 100%. And look, Dundalk had an absolutely excellent win, and I did say last week, I think it was last week, that Dundalk are going to be thriving on that confidence, and this is what could see them up now, having this confidence and this belief in the team, and they're showing the football they are well capable of playing. And these individual players, some of the ones you named out there that we know has been there, done it, showed that the night. They absolutely took it to Bohs the whole night, and I just thought maybe towards the second half, Dundalk faded a bit. Like you said there, the fans for the dog were great, and that's great to see. It's not worse than seeing fans not showing up to games, turn on the owners, turn on the players, making the atmosphere more toxic. You get behind your team through the hard times and be with them through the good times.
Exactly, you have to give them serious credit for that, because I've seen them over the last couple of weeks, and I was at one of the games as well in Oriel Park, and they're having a disaster this season overall. Yet the fans are at it; they never stop singing. That's what we want to see from all sets of fans, really, isn't it? Even when they're struggling,
Yeah, I'm absolutely absolutely. I'm delighted for the Dundalk and the Dundalk fans that they went and stuck with their team, because we've seen it with teams in the past. Once your teams that struggle, fans just go away. Now it happens at every level, obviously, but the Dundalk fans, they did stick around and they were there for their team. And Dundalk, as we've often said, they really shouldn't be where they are, and I wouldn't really blame any fans for not going to every game this season because of where they're at. But they're out in their numbers, especially when the fans came back and they backed their team and they sang all night and they were jolly, and the 3 points. Looking at the game itself, Keith Long decided to make changes early on, which he never ever does. So he definitely was pissed off with how Bohs were playing first half. They weren't disciplined. They just weren't at races. Things just weren't going well. They weren't getting many shots on target. Georgie Kelly was dropped extremely deep into midfield, and at times then we were isolated up front because he just wasn't there. He wasn't up the pitch in time. But we had to drop into midfield so far to act like kind of a false nine or attacking midfield, or dropping in to try and collect the ball and go forward and bring the wingers into the games. Interestingly, he played Ross Tierney again on the wing. He's played there a season. Ross is a very talented player. We all know he is, but in my opinion, he's just not a winger. In my opinion, he's got a lot of pace and a very strong work rate. But I just a lot better suited to midfield, where he can get up and down and try and be that kind of a workhorse in midfield.
2 things with that, I'll just throw in. Sorry, 2 things with that I'll just throw in just before I forget, while you're kind of on that subject, because I was kind of going to come on to it as well. But I agree with you there. But I think 2 reasons why he decided to do that. He wanted Devoy higher up the pitch, and he wanted Levinson and Buckley, so he wanted 2 in a double pivot. as a defensive shield. Now he went back to type in the second half and went back to the normal kind of setup that Bohs normally play. So he obviously saw, look, we're conceding too many goals in games, we're letting in too many goals, teams are walking through us. However, even with that shape, it didn't change that aspect of the game, did it, for Bohs? Off the ball, like, there was no difference. They didn't look stronger defensively or anything.
I actually think, in my opinion, we looked a bit more open because the players just weren't used to that kind of a system, and the players just weren't used to playing together. Because I think with Bohs, one thing that's for sure that everyone in the league knows is we stick to our same 11 most of the time, unless a forced change is made. When you play like that, the players get used to playing with each other. They know what they're capable of doing. They know the strong weaknesses. Once that's taken away, I think it can either go two ways. It's not going to go okay. It's either going to go very well or very bad. And in my opinion, it went very bad during the night. Obviously, went a lot better in the second half when he changed things back to, like you said, and brought on different players. And I think the very good game. But he had to drop so deep into the pitch, to collect the ball and go forward. I think he needs to be a bit higher up when he's doing that. But
I think that's as a case of him being used to playing deep, that he's used to going deep, so it's natural to him now. That kind of way. Yeah. That's probably a bit of an issue as well. I think technically he wanted him further up the pitch. That kind of way.
Definitely, because you're going to be relying on him, to get shots away or to put a ball through or to find that pass. You don't want him kind of around your defenders as such. You kind of want him higher up, I think. But I think that's one thing in the game where Bohs kind of fell down a bit, because that kind of slowed down and the vibe was really far back and we get forward, and that didn't work well. Going on to the goals anyway, it was the worst shouts for penalties throughout the game. People will say the referees, I don't really want to touch too much on referees tonight. We've went through them numerous times. We all know what the situation is with referees. I think you need to just judge the incident is if it's given, did he score the penalty? If it wasn't given, but just going on to Wilson's goal, I think he had too much space in the ball from a Dundalk point of view. He shouldn't have had that much space. He had time to actually take the ball and look up and have a shot. He shouldn't have given him that much space. And he took a long-range shot and it was excellent. I thought Peter Cherry should have done so much better. I don't think he should have been beaten that far out with, that kind of a view, especially on that side. I don't
Unless it rockets into the top corner, but it doesn't quite do that clearly. It's kind of central-ish.
No. Yeah, absolutely. And, I'm just looking at the game and overall, I thought in the second half, Bohs obviously came into a lot more into it, and they really threw at Dundalk the second half. They gave everything going forward, and it was at one stage end to end. It was an excellent game for anyone neutral. I was watching it, very nervy as a Bohs fan. I was hoping they would get the second goal. I thought they would have done it. They had a few chances to do it, and unfortunately, we just didn't do it. But they tried our hearts out in the second half. They really did, and if they had had that in the first half, it could have been a different game. But you have to give full credit to Dundalk here. Going up against Bohs, it was never going to be easy for them. Obviously, Bohs looking against Dundalk wasn't going to be easy for us either, especially with the Fox on and they're scoring goals. And certain individual players that we touch on in the last 2 weeks are starting to play well now. Outside of players that came from different leagues. All these lads are starting to show what they can do, and maybe if they can hold on to these players for next season, they might be able to finish mid-table or up. I know I tipped them from ninth. I know my head's kind of turning now a little bit. And rightly so, Dundalk have come in. They really needed to get points against them, like the Bohs and their teams, to try and get themselves out of trouble, which they've done. I would now be thinking that Dundalk are safe. I can't believe I'm saying Dundalk are safe, but I would start to say that they are safe, and it's great that the fans backed them. Bohs had a common support as well the other night, and they were all huddled together, which is great to see. There were so many Bohs fans there, and look, it was just good for Dundalk, I suppose, and poor for Bohs. And like you said, I think the league for us now is done. I don't think we're going to finish in the European spot for Europe next season. We have to win the cup if we're going to get it, or obviously other circumstances where our team finishes in top three and wins the cup, and then we get, I don't want to go down that road. One have to win the cup, and winning the cup, it's probably, it is harder than trying to finish third in the league, I think, because it all happens on the day. That's more of a sprint, whereas the league's a marathon. So, that's how I see in that game. And, again, full credit to the Dundalk fans. It's great to job back the team and continue to back them through the hard times, through the good times. Not too long ago, Dundalk buckets out. We all know how that went. And, we all seen the change that Dundalk made then, and they got to Europe a good few times, and they won leagues, they won cups, so it can be done. But stick to your team through the hard times and the good times, and it was excellent to see. And it was great to see all the Bohs travelling support.
Yeah, it's good to be actually giving Dundalk a bit of credit, to be honest, for a change as well. Drogheda United take on St. Patrick's Athletic on Friday, and looking at the table, it's a massive game for Drogheda, to be fair. 5 points above Waterford. They don't really want to be getting much closer, do they? Pats are in a situation where they're likely to finish in the top 3, and you could argue their eye might be starting to go towards the cup just a little bit, but I think, in many ways, a bigger game for Drogheda, this one, isn't it, Daz?
Yeah, I do think it's a bigger game for Drogheda. Drogheda will definitely want to get these points to make sure that they ensure safety and that they do finish up where they're at, because they're having an excellent season, and I don't think they're going to want to start throwing away points, and they're going to be looking at every game that's an opportunity to get points, more so now than trying to keep players behind the ball and see out games. I think it's going to go towards more like that. I think they're in a position now where they can play more freely and actually put up the teams a lot more, which they've been doing this season, and they've had as I've said numerous times, they've been having a season, and it'd be hard to know if they're going to have equally as good of a season next season. But they are having a great season. They're in a very good place, and I think they're doing a lot better than a lot of people would have given them credit for. And I think that's not touched on a lot. And I think a lot of people, really should appreciate that a lot more, where they're at, and they are a hard team to beat. And I've seen them. We all have, and they're very good. Got some very good players. And just looking at Pats, then, yes, I would say their head is turned. Or who wouldn't be? It'd be hard not to be. If you're in that position where a cup's going to be in your sight, you're going to be your head's going to be turned. And if you're a player, you're not going to be injured. Go for a cup, especially if the finals coming up, when we get there, you're going to want to play in it. So psychologically, that might impact on players' performances. It might impact on tackles. It might impact on their work rate in games. We've all seen it with our own teams and with other teams throughout different leagues, and their heads certainly are turned. So this could be where the Drogheda could pile pressure on Pats now and maybe nick something out of the game. And I actually could see this one finishing 1-1 of a draw. It wouldn't surprise me if Pats rest a few players. They have a big enough squad. They've rotated their team a lot this season. They know the players are capable of playing in different positions, so they would trust them playing in different positions. Whereas I can see Drogheda sticking with their same, they don't really make too many changes, but I definitely would see Drogheda get something out with this. So I would go with 1-1 draw for this.
Yeah, I have a feeling, I know I'm a Pat supporter, but I have a feeling Drogheda might actually win this game, Daz, if I'm perfectly honest. I just think Pats are in a position where they can drop points. I don't see them finishing outside the top 3 is my point. I really don't. It'll take a lot for them not to do that. Calamity, really. From Drogheda's point of view, they haven't been bad in recent weeks at all, by the way. It's just the teams behind them keep winning. And that's the problem. So they need to keep getting points. And I think I see them getting at least a point for sure, but I'm going to tip them actually to win this game, which might surprise a lot of people. But Shamrock Rovers take on Derry City at Tallaght Stadium on Friday night as well. And obviously, Shamrock Rovers are 9 cleared of a game in hand. I never thought there was a chance that anyone was really going to challenge them properly, because I simply don't think anyone is actually good enough to challenge them. Pats have kind of stuck with them a little bit for a while, but now there's a big gap there. And it was always a question of when this gap was going to develop for me. And obviously last week kind of, put that into perspective as well. But taking on the Derry City side, by the way, who lost their first 4 league games this season, right? They've lost 4 of the last 24. Under Higgins, which is just incredible. And, they're a team that looks like for the future they could put a lot of pressure on Shamrock Rovers as well going into next season, with McElhenney going there, possibly Duffy and a few others. And they've really improved under Higgins, and they have good players as it is. I think they'll want to go to Rovers, and obviously they're 3 points behind Sligo for a start, so they've something to play for here in a serious way. In terms of getting to Europe, and momentum would suggest that they may well finish ahead of Sligo, but they can lay down a bit of a marker to Shamrock Rovers and test themselves against Shamrock Rovers as kind of a sign for next season to see how they might get on as well.
Yeah, look, I think first of all, it kills me to say it, but Shamrock Rovers have ran away with the league. That gap did come. We were saying when it's just a question of when it's going to come, and it came, and they are where they are, and rightly so. And you have to give them full credit to be where they're at. They are the best team in the league, to have some of the best players in the league. They deserve to be where they're at. And, they have a lot of quality players in every position. They've got a lot of players, underage that's very good, a very good underage system. The club is ran very well.
There's also a lot of guts in that team, Daz, because we talk about all the last minute winners they get, and there's a reason for that as well. Like defensively, very strong. I will say the last minute winner against Pats was very, very lucky though, and very unlucky from Pat's point of view. Let's be honest, it's a bit of a jammy OG. But in general, like the belief is there that they can go on and win these games and nick these games, and when they haven't been at their best, because they probably haven't played the scintillating football this season overall, but they've just had that character, had the guts, and that defensive structure they have is very strong.
Yeah, that's something I was trying to touch on there about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I said there has been games of Shamrock Rovers. They just didn't play at their full potential, but when they actually they got the goal and the quality shown, and they only needed 1 goal to win a lot of games, and they popped up the winner late on in so many games, even against likes of Longford and all them. They put them up in a really good game to come up with a late winner, and that just shows where they're at, the quality they have, the character they have, the players that they have. So they are where they're at, and fair play to them. And they have the league probably won again, and it's where they're at. And again, of course, looking at Derry, like you said, Higgins came back in, and I really didn't think he was going to do as good as he's done. And he's definitely should be a contender manager of the season. I think like the job he has done, the way he's turned it around, the players that he's brought in, the way he has Derry playing, they're hard to beat. They've only lost, like you said, 4.
They've lost 4 of their last 24 games. Yeah,
I really talk about that. Yeah, like, and when you're hard to beat, you're not going to drop many points, obviously. Like, so when you're like that, you're going to really jump up the league, and they really have. And he has been playing really good football. And I still look back on the game against Bohs, but we were 1-0 up, and I wouldn't say cruising, but we were comfortable enough, and then they just got in with their set pieces, and they just got in with their attack and play, and got their free kicks up in the other half. They just didn't give up, like, and I think that was the turning point for them. I think that's when they started getting belief in the game, so they can go up and put up to get to games like Bohs and pop up with winners. But absolutely, they'll be looking at this game against Rovers and seeing where they're at, and they'll definitely try and judge off this, maybe what positions they need to kind of recruit for maybe next season. Obviously, like you said, like Duffy is going there, which is be a good addition to that team. But they'll definitely see maybe where else they might need to add. But I don't think they need too many players next season. There's no point in bringing in 4 or 5 or 6 new starter players when you already have a good core of players that's there, because Higgins actually the best out of them, and he's doing so good, and you don't really want to disrupt that in the team. But going back to the game anyway, look, it actually is a very hard one to call, I think, because Derry are going to put up the Rovers. They have nothing to lose, whereas Shamrock Rovers will want to extend the league as far as they can, and they're only playing on sheer confidence and sheer belief, and they're going to all want to score. They're going to all want to get the 3 points. So it's going to be probably a very entertaining game. I'm going to go with Shamrock Rovers 1-0 win. I think it's going to be very open, though. I think it'll be a very good game to watch as well, but I think it'll be 1-0 Shamrock Rovers.
Actually going to go for Derry to nick it here, 2-1. I think Shamrock Rovers might take their foot off the gas slightly, and I just think with Derry's form, they're well capable of getting a result here as well. So 2-1 Derry for me. Finn Harps take on Dundalk in Ballybuffet. Obviously, they played a few weeks ago in the Cup twice, obviously, with the drawing game in Ballybuffet, and Dundalk winning after extra time. So might be a bit of needle in this. I always find when the team plays each other a couple of times, 3 or 4 times very quickly, you get a bit of bite in these games. But 2 teams are on serious form. It might be 8th and 7th, or 7th and 8th, should I say, in the league. Finn Harps are 7th, but it's actually a really, really, really big game there, because both teams will feel a win there could give them a bit of a gap over 9th potentially. So again, it's a tight one to call. 2 teams near the bottom of the table, but 2 teams on serious good form. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and like obviously the other week I was at Bohs against Harps, and I was very impressed with Harps. Obviously, Bohs played really bad in that game, but from a Harps perspective, Harps were really, really good. They played to their strengths. They all knew their strengths. Every player knew their role, and they executed it perfectly. And Ollie Horgan's game plan worked so well. And if he can do that against Bohs, he can do that against Dundalk, I think. And if he puts it up against them and plays kind of similarly, I think they'll definitely get results out of the game. As I said, everything they did so well in that game. And I know we weren't at the races ourselves, but looking at it from a Harps perspective, they were very good, I thought. Like, they did what they do best. They got goals. They hung on to the league. They were defensively excellent. They were disciplined throughout the team. Everyone had everyone's back. They all did their jobs. I think Harps are going to do probably the same against Dundalk. This is how playing against teams this season: defensively structured, organised. Get a goal, hang on to it, tackle hard, push up. old school, typical Ollie Horgan team, and I love it. I love Ollie. I love Harps. I love how they do it. To get the results, to get their goals, and he always does it. He's got them out this season again. He's done it, and I just love him. And I think if he'll do it against Dundalk, and I think I actually would back Finn Harps for this. I'm going to back them to win 1-0. I do think it'll be a scrappy game. I think Harps probably will play with long balls. I think they will catch Dundalk out on long balls. Dundalk, they'll try and play how they normally play. They will definitely give them a game. Both teams will be confident. And when you're looking at a game of football where you're playing against two confident teams, it's always going to be a good game because both teams will be confident to go forward, confident in defending. So, it'd be cagey enough. They both want to get the results, but I do think Harps will get this one. I think it'll be 1-0 to Harps. You
think? I'm going to go for a draw, but I tell you, the entrance fee to see Siddiqui up against Hooven, it's worth it alone, to be honest with you, because they had a few spicy battles recently, so another spicy one, I'd say, on Friday as well. But I think it'll be a tight game. It could go either way, in all honesty. So a draw for me in this one. Sligo Rovers take on Waterford FC then at the Showgrounds, and Sligo are only 3 points above Derry. Waterford are a team on form, even though they're 9th in the league. It's hard to believe. But Sligo are a funny one because they had Bulger, Buckley and McCourt out the last day, and I didn't know they'd have them out. So I'm not really sure what the makeup of the team. I think Mahan might be suspended as well. So I'm not sure if any of those players are going to be back. If they're all missing, then I have to strongly fancy Waterford here because they're the backbone of their team, to be honest with you. And Sligo, when they've been missing those players, have really struggled to get a result. But if 3 of them even are playing, particularly Bulger in the middle of the park, it does make a big difference. I'm going to assume he's back. I'm not sure, but I'm going to assume he's back. Waterford, obviously, playing with a lot of confidence. A lot of their new players are getting better. Patterson, Junior, and players like that. They've been missing John Martin as well, though, who's been a bit of a loss, I think, as well for them. He's a good player, but it's a tough one to call, particularly when I go through the team news with Sligo, because I'm not sure what the makeup of the team's going to be. But Waterford are going to be more confident for this one, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. Like them players you listed out there for Sligo are all really good players, and even looking at, I'm sure you're a Pats man, I'm a Bohs man. I would happily take them players down to Bohs for next season if we were offered them. Who wouldn't? I think he'd really smashing well around the players, especially like Martin. He's very young, he's very good. He's just an all-round player. He's exactly what any team would want. But if they're all missing, you'd have to heavily fancy Waterford for this. Like just going through the players you mentioned there, like I'm massive fan of Patterson. I think he's actually underrated in the league. I think he's a very, very good player. Just came into the league unknown. Everyone knows who he is now. And once you do that, people will know, who we are and what you're about. And, he's really come into his own. And I don't really think, it's Waterford are 9th, but really shouldn't be 9th. But then you look at it like the Harps, who are just above them, who are also playing very well. And all the teams around that area are starting to win games.
Whoever finishes 9th is going to be a good side. A good side is going to finish 9th in this league. This is the thing.
That's the thing. And a lot of people probably wouldn't think that or talk about that. You're thinking a 9th, sure, you must be having an awful season. Now, obviously, they've had a poor first half of the season, and that's why they are where they are, obviously, with recruitment issues, manager issues, stuff like that. I'll
throw this one at you, Daz, just while we're there, right? 28 games gone, right? The team that's 2nd in the league have won 15 matches, right? The team that's 9th in the league have won 10. That's not a huge gap, is it? Between the team that's 2nd and 9th?
That's definitely not a huge gap, and a lot of them would have been late. Like a few of them would have been late winners, or they wouldn't have had the players they have now before these kind of losses. Yeah. Them losses would have came at the start of the season a lot more too. So it could have been a very different season for Waterford. The recruitment was different, at the start of the season, and if they probably will stay up. I think if Waterford finish 9th, I think they will stay up, and if they do, they probably definitely won't be 9th next season if they were to be where they are. But even just looking at the game, it's going to be a hard game for both teams, but I do think if Sligo are missing them players, I think you'd have to fancy Waterford for this. That is their spine of their team. They are some of their best players. Individually, player for player, they're excellent players. They're very hard to replace. It's not like your average player on an average team. We have someone else to come in and wouldn't really be saying, as such missing in the game, if you know what I mean. But these players, they're strong individuals. They're strong characters in that team. And they normally always play together. And when that's missing, a team's going to have their spine gone. It's going to be easier to break down. Waterford should look at this with confidence. On the basis of that, I'll be going Waterford to win 2-1. I definitely think they could pull it off. They'll need that. They'll want to get as many points as they can towards the end of the season. And Sligo of the late, obviously, the loss against the Dundalk, the loss against a few other teams have been in the form they have been in the first third and second third of the season. So yeah, I'd be fancying Waterford for this one to win 2-1.
Yeah, it just shows it's a long season. If Sligo have 3 of those 4 available, they could definitely get a result. But because I'm not sure about that, I have to go for Waterford as well. We'll end on Longford Town and Bohemians. And obviously Longford have done quite well against Bohs actually this season. Haven't they had a couple of draws? I think they had a couple of draws, yeah. But it's an interesting one because
now, I think.
It's an interesting one because Longford, obviously they're adrift, so they're cut well adrift to the bottom. 2 wins all season, 14 points. Bohs, they can't be happy with their recent form. As I was saying before, they actually snuck up behind Sligo's asses, and as soon as they got close, they fell away again. So it's very difficult to see them psychologically even go again. I'm not even going to say it's a must win for Bohs because I think Europe is going to be difficult for them. But I don't know. They need to. I see Keith Long actually talking during the week as well, and he made the point how we can't concede goals and win games. But we've been saying that all season with Bohs. To be honest, Bohs can score 2 or 3 goals, and you still wouldn't be sure they're going to win a match. That kind of way. But I'll be honest, that's kind of that's on Long as well, though, because he has to find a solution, some way that he sets up the team that they do play vibrant football, in which they do, to be fair, nice attacking football, but that they can't be got at so easily. And that's been my issue with Bohs all season. At times, they've been bullied, if we're honest as well. Maybe they lack a few leaders more than anything else. I think that's their biggest issue. Longford will dig deep. There's no doubt. Longford are home. They don't care where they are in the league. They're going to go at Bohs. They're going to snap at their heels because they know that's how you get at Bohs. So it's a difficult one to judge, I have to say, even though Bohs are clearly the better football team,
I think, though, at first, I don't think all the blame actually lies on Long. I don't think...
Oh, no, I don't. That's what... No, I agree. No, I agree 100%. No, I agree 100%.
Never been given a chance to...
You know what I mean, though? I think he needs to take a little bit of responsibility is what I'm trying to say, really.
Yeah, no, definitely. He probably needs to change maybe our shape a little bit, like he did against the Dundalk, but more play long term. Or he probably needs to, change the certain individuals around the pitch, maybe put them in different positions. See how that goes. We have no real experienced players in the team. Keith Buckley is probably a star player. Keith Ward is the next experienced. Well, obviously Keith Ward's more experienced, but he doesn't start whereas Keith Buckley does. He's club captain. But after that, everyone's so young. But
you're struggling.
I just think, though, if Keith Long was given the chance to hold players every season and we don't lose them to teams in the league, we definitely wouldn't be as mentally weak as we are now, I think, because he would have had the shape of the team. He would have had more experienced players, and we wouldn't have to play 5 or 6 players every season.
It's a physical weakness as well, a little bit, as compared to some other teams. A bit of a physical weakness, a little bit as well.
I think so too, and I think that's actually why Bohs have it going with short a lot of the time with corners and free kicks, because they don't want to send the ball into where you've got 6'2" defenders on 5'6" players. It just wouldn't really make too much sense, and I think that's why they've been doing that. They've been doing that a bit too much, in my opinion, because a lot of the time that doesn't really come to anything. But looking at the game going into Longford, Longford have been really good against Bohs this season. They took so many points away from us, that game where we were 2-0 up still haunts me, looking back on it. And Longford came back, no one would think that, where they were in the league. And oh God, it's just been a disaster. The points we dropped to Longford really we shouldn't have dropped them. It's just shocking. And if we had them points now, we would have been a lot higher in the league, and maybe the runs would have been, and just would have had more points. We just shouldn't have lost them points to Longford. And look, Longford have nothing to lose. They've absolutely nothing to lose. Only their pride. And they're going to be playing for pride. They're not going to care if they lose 5 or 6-0 against Bohs, if they're going to try and play well. But they're going to give it to Bohs. They're going to put up to us.
They've got one player, I think, that would really, really suit Bohs, and that's A. Dervin, because he is a little tiger in the middle of the park. He's not the biggest guy. I know what I've just been saying about Bohs, but he snaps at heels. He'll kick you. He'll... get round the pitch. He's a bit like Kante, you know what I mean? He's everywhere. He would annoy.
100%.
He'd be brilliant at Bohs. Someone like that to go complement what they have would be fantastic.
Yeah, we definitely need a fighter, I think, in the midfield. It's great having the likes of Dawson and Ross and all, who are very good with their feet, but we need someone who's going to get dirty in the game, who's going to actually take someone down if they have to, who's going to put in that slide tackle if you have to, we don't, since Derek Pendo went, we don't have anyone who's like that, who's brave
a bit
enough
nice,
to do stuff.
isn't it? It's a bit nice, isn't
Yeah,
it?
too nice for too nice. I know Keith Buckley does the odd time, but we don't have anybody else. Yes, I think he's a smashing player. I think he definitely would suit Bohs really well. I think he'd suit a number of teams really well, actually, and he'll definitely be in the shop window.
Yeah, I'll take him at Pats as well. If Aid Irvin's watching this, I'll take you at Pats as well, all right? Good man.
But, like, you know, it gives players like him time to put himself in the shop window to try and play well and get a move away from Longford next season. Hopefully Longford do keep for themselves and get back up, but because it's great to have Midlands team in the league, and it's a shame they've gone down. Like, you know, it actually is a shame. I liked having Longford up. I liked having the only stadium with 4 stands in it. It was excellent to see. It's a shame they're gone, but look, I am nervous for the game. I'm not going to lie. I do think, like you said there, it's probably no longer a must win. Every game is a must win, but I think the league is kind of, third position is probably gone now for us. It's going to be very hard to get into it. We're going to rely on other teams to lose it. We have to win. So when you're like that, there's a lot of ifs and buts, and it's just not ideal to be relying on other teams to lose and you have to win. It's too much pressure. I do think we will win. Like, I'm always going to back Bohs, but Longford, like you said, they've had so little wins in this season. They've got so little points at the bottom of the table. You'd have to back yourself. To score highly, but you know, we could score 2 or 3 goals and still draw 2 or 3-0, 2 or 3-3. So that's not good enough. You know, we need to actually go 2-0 up and see the game out. Maybe even do it in Dundalk and just shot. And I know that's
it's even nice to win the odd game 1-0, Daz, just to kind of say that was a dirty 1-0 win. You know what I mean? Rather than
nothing better than a dirty 1-0 win, like, you know.
Yeah. So Daz, what are you saying score wise?
Yeah, look, I've gone with 2-0 to Bohs. We're going to win this one. We're going to see it out, and we're going to get a nice dirty win. And we're going to see the game out and be defensively solid. Have to be 2-0 Bohs.
I think they could do it one, but unfortunately, I'm going to burst your bubble slightly. I think I'm going to go with 1-1. All right, guys, thanks for watching.
No, that's not going to happen. No.
Daz isn't having it. We'll see. If they lose, it'll be worse. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Please like the video, subscribe if you're new, and hit your bell notification button so you don't miss a video. Cheers, Daz.